going on, guys? Welcome back to Tactical Foul. My name is Tigo. That is my good friend Kevin. We're doing a Liverpool episode today before we jump into any of that. Kevin?
Yeah. Ironically, I'm wearing a Manchester City jersey.
I wish I had a Prem jersey. I don't have a Prem jersey. I need to get me a
How do I have a Arsenal one's about to come in. So I'm waiting for my Arsenal one to come in.
Yeah, but it's not even red.
I know. But anyway, man, Liverpool just won the league. I can't believe they won the league so early, man. Crazy, man. Crazy. Arsenal really fumbled the bag there. But we're not here to talk about Arsenal, right?
No, we're here to celebrate Liverpool. Last weekend, they absolutely annihilated Spurs to win the cup at home, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful thing. They won 5-1 over my sad Spurs and go on to lift the Premier League trophy with 4 games in hand. That's a big, big achievement. But as we know from looking at the Premier League table, a lot of things went wrong for a lot of teams. And teams aren't going to sit still and let Liverpool go out and just win the league over and over and over again. Arsenal are primed to have a massive, massive summer spending spree. Manchester City and Pep Guardiola finally seem to be realigned in their priorities, and they're going to go out and have a big summer. Chelsea, Spurs, Manchester United, Newcastle, Villa, Fulham, all gearing up to have big summer moves. And today we're going to be talking about the moves that I believe and that Kevin believe Liverpool should make to stay on top of the Premier League. But before we can talk about what they should do, let's talk about what they've done well. Kevin, when you look at this Liverpool team, and you look at the players that are staying and some that are leaving, before we even talk about outgoings in terms of sales they should make, this is a really, really good team. They're not going to have a ton of players that are turning over that need to leave.
Yeah, man, I agree. I agree with you, man. This is a very, very good side. But we know that there's a lot of potential for it to get better, and obviously we also know that a lot of players such as Arnold and Darwin Nunez aren't going to stick around. So I think that there's so many areas that need to get strengthened, and I think that Liverpool can improve on to be in like a really, really top level, because right now they have a good coach that's going to bring them to where they need to be. But there's areas where they need to strengthen for sure.
And I think that the word you used is brilliant there. I think what you said is brilliant. This isn't a team that needs an overhaul. They just need to strengthen at certain positions. Now, I know where I think that they should strengthen, but where do you think specifically they should go out and highlight specific positions and areas where maybe they need some more help? What do you think? Where are those areas when you look at the Liverpool squad?
I mean, firstly, I want to say the defense needs strengthening, man, just in general. I think that's the biggest one, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest one. I think they need a new left back, they need a new center back, and they need someone to replace Arnold. And the thing about, I think that this is so important to reiterate, is Arnold is a very, very good player. Sorry, I was checking on my dog. Arnold is such a good player on that right back, man. They're gonna have to replace him with someone either equally as good or that can play that high level that Liverpool are used to. So for me, I don't know if you want to dive right into the players.
Let's not do that, right? So you think that defensively is where they should,
and then wait, not just defensively,
mm-hmm.
right? But I think the defense is the biggest overhaul, not overhaul per se, but
the biggest injection of talent,
where they need the most strengthening. Because I mean, just looking at Alexander-Arnold leaving, that's huge, man. I mean, that's a big loss for that defense. And to me, Konate is good, but they could use somebody better. And so that's, I think, the biggest area of strengthening they need. Another thing where I think they could do better is having someone in that attacking midfielder role to take over for Zabotzlai. Because I do feel like he's good. He's done very well for Liverpool this year. I feel like they need a backup that's just as good in case he gets injured or in case anything happens to him. And the ones that are currently in the squad, I don't feel like are good enough to play that attacking midfield role when he's gone. Okay, one last position where I feel like they need really good strengthening in is the striker position.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, they're going to offload Darwin Nunez. They need a good 9 player that I feel like is going, and I feel like they need a good 9 in general. I don't like this idea of like using wingers. Like, for example, in this last game, they used Luis Diaz as their striker. I don't want that for Liverpool because they're such a good side. They need a good physical striker to compete with Haaland, to compete with those top level and physical too, because we're talking Premier League, right? So yes, I do feel like those are the areas where I think they need the most strengthening, personally.
I love your list, and I love it so much because it literally mirrors my list. When we did this idea, guys, I literally texted Kevin and I said, "Hey, we're doing a Liverpool episode." And that's all I told him. And it's really, really interesting that when you went to go evaluate the Liverpool team, we kind of came to the same conclusion because I listed 6 positions where they needed either an upgrade or strengthening. And I broke it down into priority, like they need to go and get these guys. And then this would be nice if they did it. And I think we agreed. So for me, I had both fullbacks, so left back and right back. And striker as priority needs. And I think you mentioned it exactly right. Like, we both know Darwin Nunez isn't going to stick around. He's probably on his way out. And I agree with you. I don't like this world that we're living in where we're now putting wingers as strikers when we see just how good a natural number 9 is in Haaland scoring 50 goals for Manchester City and Georgiev scoring 60-plus goals for Sporting, and what a true number 9 can do for a team. And then also at left back, I think the biggest thing is like Robertson and Tsimikas are not good enough at the level that they are right now to play for a team that's pushing for the Champions League, that's pushing for the Premier League, that's pushing for trebles and quadruples and all of these things. And in a 60-game season, you need depth, and that's why I have areas where they can strengthen their depth at center back, attacking midfielder, and center defensive mid. But you can't just go out there and spend a bunch of money. What players would you sell? What players would you ship out to fund what I think you and I are probably leaning to being a very, very expensive summer?
I think the biggest ones, obviously Darwin Nunez. When we talk about, that's the first one, right? Because that one's definitely going to get offloaded. It sucks because I think Darwin Nunez is a player that has a lot of potential, but he's just not fitting in this side. He's having very unlucky moments. It's almost like it reminds me a lot of Fernando Torres at Chelsea.
Yep.
Where, like, yes, he was a great player for them, and yeah, he scored some goals that were pretty important, but he's not a sustainable striker for them, man. He keeps missing on the big chances. He's not what they need for them to be a top, and I'm talking top winning Champions League, winning a treble, winning everything. He's not that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy who's going to put in work and he's going to make it a good team, but he's not that guy. He's not that guy. I'm going to put it just like that meme. He's not that guy. And so I think that's the first one that they need to focus on. Another one we've talked a lot about, I think in the past, me and you personally, Luis Diaz.
Luis Diaz is an interesting one, right? Because, like, I understand the idea of keeping Luis Diaz, and I think that's what they should do. I think they should keep Luis Diaz. But
I think they should too.
But there's a lot of rumors out there that he might want out. And, like, let's be real. A 27-year-old left winger with 12 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League, that can bring you in a lot of money. And we see that from the market value that FootMob, by the way, all of the values that we're going to be talking about are listed on FootMob, and they're in euros because that's more universal. Maybe we should have gone to pounds. Who cares? They're all listed in euros. And like Luis Diaz right now on FootMob is listed as 87 million euros.
Can I mention though? I do want to mention something because, and I think I'm changing my mind here a little bit. I'm going to twist my arm because I did originally say that I did want to sell Diaz, but I think I've changed my mind, man. You know who I would sell personally?
Who?
Personally, I would get rid of Diogo Jota.
Interesting. I don't think you can. I don't think you can afford to. He's the only right winger on the team.
But that's the thing.
Like
is
behind Salah.
Play there. Luis Diaz could play there, man. He could.
No, totally.
Luis Diaz could play there. I think that and the thing is about Luis Diaz, man. I mean, yeah, he's gonna bring you in a lot of money, especially compared to Diogo Jota. I think. Let me see. Actually, Diogo Jota's market value.
54 million.
54. Okay, so we're looking at Luis Diaz, who's at 87 million. Obviously, yeah, you lose a lot there, but I just feel like, man, you miss out on a lot with Luis Diaz, man. I just feel
I don't want him to go.
And
I have him on my list with an asterisk of like, don't sell, but like if you need to.
Yeah. I do know that there's a lot of rumors of him leaving, but man, if I were Liverpool personally, right? Because this is my personal, just if I were to be coaching this team, I wouldn't let him go. I would let Diogo Jota go personally. Because though he's good, and yes, he's a good Salah replacement, he's a right-footed right winger, and I don't see him being better than Luis Diaz.
No, he's not.
And so I would offload. I'm gonna change my mind there because I originally told you I would offload Luis Diaz, but I would not now. I would say Diogo Jota and keep Luis Diaz as a sort of replacement with Salah, and in case Gakpo, for example, gets injured. Then you have Gakpo and you have Luis Diaz being able to play both sides, man. I mean, it's a win-win situation. And Diogo Jota, I just don't see Diogo Jota having the versatility that Luis Diaz has to play both sides the way that I know Luis Diaz could.
No, I totally understand.
He played on the right wing, and he was up and down, man. He did like a Rafinha on there, what Rafinha's kind of doing now for Barcelona. He can do that, but then at the same time, he's better than Rafinha in the sense that Rafinha can't play down the right, but Luis Diaz can play down the left. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I understand.
That's
huge.
Dude, and
I agree with you. That's why I'm only offloading 2 players. I have an asterisk next to Luis Diaz, like if those rumors are true and you get like an unbelievable offer that you can't say no to, like that's a different situation. But the only players that I would sell in the summer are Darwin Núñez and Kelleher. And the only reason I'm selling Kelleher is because you have Mamardashvili, the goalkeeper from Valencia, the Georgian goalkeeper that you bought last summer, who's currently on loan at Valencia. He's coming in. Kelleher is 26. He should be starting somewhere. That's some free and easy cash. And I totally agree with you. I wouldn't even sell Diogo
Jota.
One
more guy I would offload. It's because he's not playing. Is Chiesa.
Chiesa's a weird situation.
It's a weird situation. They did just obtain him. I get it. But like he's clearly not fitting into the system. He's no longer injured. He has not played. And I just don't feel like he's fitting into Arne Slot's system. You could keep him to like sub him in every once in a while, but I think that if you want to get the maximum out of your team and out of your players, I think you need to let him go, man, and get that extra money for him. He's not worth a lot, right? He's only worth 23 million euros, and it's like, I know you're not getting a lot from him, but at the same time, I think, well, I mean, either way, keeping him or offloading him, I think it's better to offload him just to get the money.
No, I get what you're saying with him. I get what you're saying with Chiesa. I just looked at it and I said, I'm going to try to keep everybody on this team as much as I can. I'm only going to sell the players that want out and like that are clearly just they have no business being there. Look, if Chiesa wants out, I'll sell him. Like he's not that important to that Liverpool team. But I'm not going to go out of my way to get rid of players when I don't have to. Now, one of the things that I'm very interested, and I think I'll start where, let's start at the striker position, because I think you and I both agree that's probably the biggest position of need. That's the biggest area of growth that they're going to need, especially with some of these other teams in the Premier League. I decided to go with a player that they're kind of already linked to, but I actually just love what he provides. And when you're talking about big, physical, goal scoring machine who's young and can grow and develop with the youth of this squad, dude, in my eyes, I don't know if there's really a better answer than Benjamin Sesko, the striker from RB Leipzig. 6'5", 21 years old, 12 goals in the Bundesliga this year, 12 goals in 28 matches, 5 assists. Like, he has been a really, really good player for, let's be very honest, an RB Leipzig team who is underperforming in expectation to what they did last year, right? And it's a sad state when you talk about that and all of those things, but I think if you were to put Shesko in this team, which is much better supportively, they've got fantastic options everywhere on this team.
Who's Chesko playing for right now?
RB Leipzig. You're talking about a guy who can be not just a double-digit goal scorer, which I think at minimum he's going to come in and do, right? He has 20 goals this year in all competitions for RB Leipzig, 18 goals last year for RB Leipzig. The year before that, 18 goals with Salzburg, 11 goals with Salzburg the year before that. He's only 21, and he has 4 years of experience at a top club, at a top league. He's ready to make that move to a big, big club, and Liverpool could do a double attack here, right? By going out and getting Benjamin Sesko, not only are they getting better, but they're keeping a really, really talented player from going to one of their rivals. And that double move is why I went with Benjamin Sesko. If you look at FootMob right now, he's rated at 63 million euros. Look, it's a lot of money. But it's the most important position on a football team is your striker. If you're not scoring goals, you're not going to keep up. And we saw that in that PSG game. They did so well in all of the other areas, but they couldn't finish. Having a head on a stick, having a finisher, having a guy like Šeško, I think that's a big, big move. Who did you go after? Are we in agreement here? Is it Šeško? What player are you going after?
For me, man, and this is a little biased just because I like this guy and I think he offers a lot. And it's between two guys, and they're from the Serie A, actually. But I like Moise Kean because I feel like he's a very physical player. I think he plays in a way that Liverpool would like because he has a lot of speed and physicality to his game, and I think that he's a very good 9 in general. But I'm also looking at Matteo Retegui, dude, that kid is also playing amazing, and both of them are young. I like Moise Kean because he's a little more on the experienced side, and he's a little more on the cheaper side. But when we're talking about that striker role, you need a top. You need top. And not that Moise Kean isn't a top player, but I think when we look at him versus Matteo Retegui is a great player, and I think they need a Serie A striker because I feel like the Serie A striker in today's game, in today's Italian football, is very physical and very fast. And I feel like that suits Liverpool so well. So I would go with either them. Me personally would go with Moise Kean.
I would say you should go with Retegui just because Moise Kean, I don't know if you know this, played for Everton in his past. And so that's a little bit of a...
Right. That's a
no, but I understand what you're saying. I think that's a great shout. I think that if you can get like he's
a cheap option who's gonna score at least 20 goals a season for you. Very physical, very
the city has a great shout. I love that. I think that's a very intelligent move.
For strikers, I would go with a Serie A, especially in today's game. When we're talking about a team like Liverpool. We're talking about a league like the Premier League that's very physical. In today's Italian football, there's very physical strikers. You know, you got Thuram, you got even Lautaro Martinez, players like that just add a lot of physicality to the game, I think are so important. So I would go with either one of those guys. And both of their market value isn't out of the roof. I mean, we're talking Matteo Retegui's 30 million euros. That's not a lot.
That's nothing for Premier League clubs.
Moise Kean is 28. I think, you know what? I'm even going to go Retegui at this point because just looking at him, he's a great player and his stats are incredible. They're incredible. I mean, I'm just looking at surface level, but they're incredible. And he's just the size. He has the speed. He's got what I think Liverpool need to add to their game.
Fantastic. Now that we've talked about the striker, because strikers are the sexy ones, right? I want to go back to the defense, and then we'll work our way up, right? So let's talk defense here. I have 3 defensive players that I think they should sign. 2 is a priority, a left back and a right back as a priority. And then I think that, look, they don't need to go and get a center back, but I think they should. I think Van Dijk's not getting any younger. He's 33, and I know you gave him a 2-year extension, but how much longer is he going to be able to do 60 games a year? You should be looking to think about that into the future. Let's start at left back. I want you to go at left back because I know who you picked at left back, and I want to talk about him because I think he's an excellent player. But then why I pivoted to my guy. So what guy do you think? Because I know we both have a left back. What left back should they go get?
I picked Kirkish from Bournemouth because dude's having a good season. He's getting a lot of attention right now. He's very hardworking. He's very much like Robertson in the sense that he's a very hardworking left back, physical game. And actually, the right back, it suits Liverpool because of what I would like to do with the right back position, right? Because I like my right backs to be very attacking, and I like my left backs to be on the more defensive side. And I feel like that's very Liverpool-esque. Because just looking at this Liverpool side, you have Alexander-Arnold, who's obviously more attacking than defending. He's a good defender, but not as good as he is on the ball. He's not as good off the ball as he is on the ball. And when you look at Robertson now, man, Robertson's he's a very hardworking, physical guy who's going to defend with you. Not the greatest on the ball, but, very defensive. And Kirkish, I think, is that. I think he's a good way to give Robertson a run for his money, in a sense.
Yeah,
so
that's
who I'm going for.
I love Milos Kerkez. The Hungarian left back, to me, is going to have a bidding war going on for him in the summer. There are so many teams that are linked to him, and rightfully so. This kid is incredible. And at just 21 years old, he has played 34 of 34 Premier League games for Bournemouth this year. Has 5 assists and 2 goals. And he is just phenomenal. And when you talk about work rate, just straight up work rate, that's where he shines.
Which is what Robertson kind of was in his prime.
Yeah, and I think that's
rate,
a great... There's a reason that Liverpool are linked to him. Now, I didn't go Kirkez. One, a little bit of a selfishly, because... And I think a little bit tactically as well. Milos Kerkez is a very, very, very hot name. And everybody's going to be in on Milos Kerkez. Real Madrid have been linked to Milos Kerkez. Chelsea have been linked to Milos Kerkez. Manchester United have been linked to Milos Kerkez. And here's the thing. I think that Liverpool are probably the top destination if you're a team, like a player that wants to go to the Premier League. You could argue Manchester City because of their history, and even Manchester City are linked to Milos Kerkez. If I'm Liverpool, I would be uninterested in getting into a bidding war with all of these big clubs. Because a player that should cost 30 million euros, according to FootMob, is just going to go up. And we know that Liverpool, unfortunately, when it comes down to getting into a bidding war with some of these other clubs, with some of these big clubs, they tend to lose out. They lost the bidding war, and this is going to be a little bit of a flex being a Real Madrid fan. They lost the bidding war. Hey, get into the camera, sir. Okay. They lost the bidding war for Tchouaméni with Real Madrid, with Bellingham with Real Madrid, Haaland with Manchester. Like, I pivoted and I went with a guy who I think is really, really, really good. I think that he's not all that expensive, has Premier League experience, isn't all that much older than Milos Kerkez. I went with Ryan Aït-Nouri, the left back, left wing back from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Dude, at 37 million euros, which is what you could get Ryan Aït-Nouri with, he's an immediate upgrade at that left back position and provides you a ton of flexibility because he can play up and down the field on that left side, as far as going all the way up to playing left wing if that's what you need him to do. But legitimately has played left back this year for.
I've heard good things about Ait Nouri.
Yeah, has played left back this year for Wolverhampton Wanderers, has played left wing back for Wolverhampton Wanderers, has played center back for Wolves. Like, he's done so much. And I think having a guy who's just like we talked about with Kirkes, high work weight, high athleticism, really good defensively, I think he's fantastic. And again, 33 of 33 games for Wolves this year, 4 goals and 7 assists. So he's getting more involved in the attack than you're even seeing with Kirkes. So I'm not saying that he's better than Kirkes, because I don't think that he is.
Another reason why Kirkes is a good signing is because of the Hungarian background with Szoboszlai, and that will be a good link up, I think, as well.
Yeah,
to kind of
he's a fantastic signing. They should do everything to get him
with the defense. I think it's great. Both I think are good options to buy at that left back.
At right back, I went really simple. I think Connor Bradley is the future of that right back position at Liverpool. So I just wanted somebody in to help support him in that role. And newly relegated Southampton have a right back that I think is phenomenal that can come in Kyle Walker-Peters. I think for 23 million euros, I think you can come in. I really like Connor Bradley. I don't know if you can get 60 games out of Connor Bradley, and that's why I went with Kyle Walker-Peters, because let's say you can get 40 games out of Connor Bradley. Kyle Walker-Peters can give you 20 games at a high level, and he's not all that expensive. Premier League proven, familiar with the Premier League.
I think that's just one I'm going to have to disagree with you with, man. I think that the right back is so important with Arnold leaving, man. And I went with a player, man, that I wish Barcelona could get. And I think, but I think that either way it fits Liverpool so well because he's Dutch, and he's going to be able to link up very well. Arne Slot is going to be able to have him playing the way that he's going to want him to play. Not only that, but I think he's just, Liverpool have had Arnold for so long, and they're so used to that right back position being solid. And like I said before, I'm very keen on having the right back be a much more attacking player than the left back, because I like to play in the way that I like to see teams play is the right back coming up as another winger while you have your other inverted winger. And I think he'd work really well with Salah there. And I'm going to go with Frimpong.
Ooh, what a signing. Can you imagine?
Man, oof. And he's high, right? He's a high, they're going to spend 53 million. And they'll probably spend more. But if you're looking to replace a player of Arnold's level, this is the guy. And the fact that he's Dutch only backs up the claim that he would do so well under Arne Slot. So I definitely just feel like that's the player they need. That's just the player they need right now. But not to say that the ones you picked aren't great options.
No, this is the whole idea. How would I do it? How would you do it? That's the whole point, right? And I love Frimpong, man.
Spend the most money on, man. And as much you look at that one, you look at the strikers. The striker you want to spend good money on too. I get that, but man, do I feel like it would be very crucial for them to get a right back that's worthy of replacing Arnold. And I think that's the best one. That's when we talk about quality.
That's a great way to put it, man. A right back that's worthy of replacing Arnold. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And then let's just run through the depth options really quickly. I said that they should go and they should sign 3 players. These are not starters. These are not guys that I think are going to come in and push for a starting job. They're just the depth. It is a 60, 70, 80 game season sometimes, and your starters can't play that many games. It's just not feasible. And I think that Liverpool needs to strengthen their depth. So I went with 3 players, and I went with Mikkel Damsgaard, the attacking midfielder from Brentford. At 24 years old, only would cost 14 million euros. I think that he comes in and, 2 goals, 10 assists. He's the perfect type of player who would welcome a jump from Brentford, is familiar with the Premier League, so understands the game and how to play it on that level, and would be a perfect depth piece for Soboslai, who I think has taken that number 10 job, and I don't know, maybe we disagree here, and I don't think he's going to take that or give that up. The other guy that I thought that they should go out and get is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, the center defensive mid, currently from Spurs at loan at Marseille. Look, he's going to be 30 years old going into next season, but I think what you're looking for is a guy who can just come in and play the games that Gravenberch doesn't need to play. Gravenberch is phenomenal. And I was saying a lot of really, really bad, or not bad, but like suspect things about Gravenberch at the beginning of the year. I don't know if he's good enough, and he just kind of feels like the only place where the more time went on, Gravenberch has really, really gone into this spot as that sweeper, as that killer in front of the defense, and has done an excellent job. He just needs support. He can't play 70 games a season, and we started to see that towards the end of the season. His legs couldn't keep up anymore because he was just used so much. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg would be really, really cheap at 17 million euros. And I thought about thinking about the future. I know you did too, and you went a different way. But I used Arne Slot's connection to the Eredivisie, his connection to the Dutch national team, his connection to just the Dutch nation as a whole. Jorel Hato, the center back at Ajax. I think he's an excellent addition. He comes in and provides depth at center back, at left back. Look, it's going to cost you a lot of money, 33 million euros. But this kid is every bit of worth it. At 19 years old, he is the captain for Ajax, the captain of that team. So I think he would be phenomenal for that team. Wrapping up your signings, who are you bringing in that would round out the rest of the squad? I went a little
bit of a different direction, right? Because I feel like their center defense isn't terrible. I think that even their backup players, I think they're good enough to kind of give them that depth that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like they need someone in the attacking mid role, because I don't think that who they have is sustainable. I don't like Endo personally, and I just feel like there's this player that's playing for FC Twente that I think is so good, man. His name is Sam Stein. Mm-hmm. He's actually the top scorer right now at the Eredivisie, but I think he'd be such a good like backup for Szoboszlai, and that's who I picked as like the midfield player, because I just feel like they need that other guy to kind of come in and put in those numbers for that attacking mid role. And to, like, when we're talking about a team like this, an attacking mid role is so huge. And this kid can play in a lot of different areas as well. So I'm going to go with him. As far as center backs, I do feel like they need another center back, man. I mean, I don't feel like Van Dijk and Konate are sustainable. I went with Huijsen.
Ooh, love it. Well, I hate it because I want him to go to Real Madrid, but
yeah, he's he's also Dutch, quote unquote.
Was Dutch.
Because he's technically he's playing for the Spanish national team, but whatever. The kid's good. The kid's good, and I think that he deserves to play in this kind of team. I think he'd be a good long-term solution for Van Dijk's replacement. Mm-hmm. So, and he's a ball-playing center back, man. I mean, what else do you want? He can defend. He can, throw you those long balls into the wings. I mean, I don't think of a better player that's young and that's, sustainable to replace Van Dijk than Huijsen.
I love the Dean Huijsen shout. I think he's so good. The only complaint that I would say, and the only reason I don't think they should go after him, is because I want him to go to Real Madrid. That's it. I think he's absolutely.
I want Frimpong to go to Barcelona. You know what I mean? So I would hate it for Liverpool to buy him, but when we're talking about like I told you earlier, just the replacement for Arnold, man, I just feel like Frimpong is just the perfect.
No, you convinced me. If I could make a change, I would say going for a guy like Jeremiah Frimpong would be absolutely phenomenal. It's the big swing that kind of shows your team, no, we're still here. This is still happening. We don't care that Trent is leaving on a free. No. We're still here. We're still Liverpool. Guys, what a transfer season, right, man? How much money did you end up spending in total on all of your guys?
I have in total 170 million.
Wow, that's not that bad. I spent a little bit more because, one, I signed an extra player. I signed 6 guys. You brought in 5. But also, I think I swung a little bit harder on the striker. I had spent 187 million euros. But I think this is the thing. If we take into consideration, maybe, might not happen. But if Luis Diaz goes out, that'll fund most of that transfer market. And Darwin Núñez and Kelleher alone could go for 75 million euros.
How much did you have offload?
If we include Luis Diaz, 161 million euros brought in. I don't want to sell him, so we have 74 million euros in this combined selling of Darwin Núñez and Kelleher. 50 for Darwin Núñez, 24 for Kelleher, so 74 million euros. And Liverpool aren't like a club that are in financial debt. No. They got money to spend. So they can go out there and spend some money, and that's what I did.
I have them offloading 150 with Darwin Núñez, Diogo Jota, Chiesa, and the goalkeeper, the Irish one,
Kelleher.
158 million offload, and then 170 million spent. Man, that and the thing is, you're reinforcing key positions here, guys.
The one thing that I will say is, yeah, you are, but if you are going to sell 3 forwards, because that's what you're doing, you're selling Jota, Chiesa, and Núñez, I think maybe you should have brought in more than just one forward.
That's the thing about that guy that I'm telling you, Sam Stein, because he can play striker. He can play in the wing. He can play in the attacking mid role.
It's a great point.
If you don't offload Luis Diaz, you could literally play that boy in either wing. You could play that boy in either wing, man. And
I agree.
Could even play him as the striker because that's what they played with him in the last game.
He's been playing there all year. Look, I love a lot of these moves that we made.
He's a valuable player. I get that he's not going to replace Gakpo, Salah, but that's the thing is like he can play in any position, so he's going to have loads of playing time. Anyway, I just feel like I don't want to sell Luis Diaz.
Me neither. I don't think Liverpool would want to either.
He's like having 2. That's why I'm like I'd rather offload these other attacking players than sell Luis Diaz because he's like having 2 guys. Because he plays so many, he can play in so many positions. He can play in literally 3 positions for them. So that's just my take. That's just my opinion.
Guys, let us know in the comment section below what do you think about our off-season moves. Who had the better summer, Kevin or me? What would you love to see Liverpool do? Let us know all of that in the comment section below. Guys, if you really like this content, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button while you're down there because we're going to be doing this with all of your favorite teams all summer long, and we're going to be diving into the transfer window. I love transfer business, so thank you so much for hanging out with us. My name is Tigo. That is my good friend Kevin. This is the Tactical Foul Podcast, and go on and have a wonderful day.